So, Chop Shop Gang, we are here. We have made it to a new season for the Houston Rockets, kicked off by today's media day. Got to hear from the coaches, from the GM, got to hear from damn near all the players on the roster. I think this was the most players that got to talk. Usually they don't let these many guys talk. From what I remember, I don't remember them being this long, but it was nice hearing from different players and different, different levels of players. You heard from starters, you heard from guys off the bench, guys at the end of the bench. It was really, really good to see. And overall, man, it was just great to see the team after a long offseason. Got to see some of the guys, how much work they've put in. They talked about it, and you could see it on some of their bodies that they've really kind of developed, especially for such a young team like the Rockets have. That's one thing you're going to see, the early growth from like year 1 to year 2 to 3 to 4. You're going to see kind of these guys mature over time, in contrast to a veteran team where it's really not about changing their bodies. And I think Ime or Stoner said this, the vets are who they are. They're already who they are. For them, it's about kind of getting better and finding new ways to stay in shape and add something new to their game. But for the young guys, these kind of, these years where they're formulating who they're going to be in the league, you want to see these big leaps, not only physically, but also on the court in their game. And I think that physically, I think damn near all the players look better. All the players look better. Got to see Jaylen. Jaylen really spoke about sort of his goals, focusing into this season, being more of a leader. And I think that's something you can look at. For him, I don't know if he's always going to be like the biggest guy, like a swole type of player. He's still young, so he might be. But for him, I think players like that, you want to see their functional strength kind of develop over time. And functional strength is different than looking strong. There are some people that don't look strong, but they're strong. You know what I mean? And if any of y'all played sports, there's people that you've ran into that they're just naturally strong. There are people that are skinny, that they're stronger than people that have muscles. So muscles, aren't always a great reflection of strength. I would say functional strength for Jaylen. I don't know if his frame is ever going to be like a bigger player, but if he can move the way he wants to move in the paint, be able to put his body in front of offensive players, be able to get in amongst the trees by the basket and finish at the rim, I think that functional abilities are going to be great for him. Those functional abilities are going to be great for us to see from him. But I think for him, obviously the contract question came up. That's something that you're going to be hearing until the Rockets make a decision about him and Sengun. He answered that perfectly, saying that this is not basically something I'm focused on right now. I'm focused on just kind of hooping and trying to make the playoffs. So big year for him, and future pods will get into that more. From Sengun, I think once again, shout out to him improving his English. Like, big surprise for me. It was like year to year. I wish we had like a little montage of how well his English has developed over time. I thought he looked lean, looked a lot leaner, more toned than we've seen in previous years. He spoke about his workout regimen, a little bit different this year, having the Rockets actually stay with him in Turkey, then coming back to the U.S. and to Houston and working out with the team in Houston. This might have been one of the first seasons that he's probably spent a significant amount of time in Houston working out. Whereas I think last season it was a lot of Turkey. Then he did, I think, a month in California. This year came to Houston. He did speak about adding the one-legged Dirk shot, and he said he has a Jokic shot, which I'm curious to see. I don't know if I've seen him do a Jokic shot, but we'll see what that looks like. He says he's improved on the Flamingo, though, so that's going to be exciting. Obviously, the contract came up, and his response was basically, I'm happy. And we're in a good spot with the contract. They're discussing his team and the Rockets. I think for him, just like with Jaylen, just focus on hooping and staying healthy, and everything else comes along with that. Fred also spoke. I think Fred, more of the same with him, veteran leadership, bringing that to the forefront, kind of talked about some of the early foundational stuff, because Ime talked about this too. Last year coming into camp, you got to see kind of a foundation laying for the team. When you're coming into a new situation with a bunch of young players, you can't hit the ground running like you want to, like it was a veteran team. There's a growth curve and a learning curve that has to go through. And I think what we saw early on in the season, coming out the blocks in the preseason, and we lost our first 3 games, was kind of some of those growth curve that you want to see, that you're going to see with a young team. some of those things involve learning terminology, right? Learning what the different terminology that Udoka is going to bring in, not only for the vets but for the young guys. That stuff is so crucial in sports. Is learning how to speak the same language, because one of the most important skills in whatever sport you play is communication in the field of play, right? And if you're not able to communicate seamlessly, it does kind of put you at a disadvantage compared to other teams that have more continuity amongst their players. Communication is key, like being able to call defenses out, call the coverage that you're seeing, being able to speak the same language, tell the guys what you want them to do, and they understand it. I think that was probably the biggest barrier that the Rockets faced from this past season, starting off the year. And I think that Udoka kind of mentioned that as a difference in this season, and Fred mentioned that as well, coming into this season, that they're going to have a more seamless transition into training camp, whereas it's about getting to doing things the right way rather than trying to teach them how to learn to speak to each other, how to learn where to be. Now guys know where to be for the most part, maybe except Reed and Steven Adams. And now you can just work on being efficient and better at what you already know how to do. And then you could build upon that even more, get into the second layers of different things. So I think that's going to be a big deal for the team. But, Fred, he, look the same. He's a vet. He's going to come in. You know what you're going to get from him. Great point guard play. He's going to be elite on defense. And I love that he said he's taking Reed Sheppard under his wing. That was something that stuck out for me. Dillon Brooks, he did have a little thing that had me a little bit worried. I ain't going to lie, bro. I ain't going to hold you. Dillon said that he didn't play to himself last year, that he was trying to find a balance between being more reserved and the quote-unquote villain, right? I ain't gonna hold y'all, bro. I don't know how I feel about that because, I did see that maybe he wasn't being as aggressive as he wanted to, but there are times where he was playing like he had CTE. So it's a mixed bag, man. I'm hoping that he can find a balance between playing on the edge, because I feel like some guys have to play like that in order for them to be effective. Like you can't, like even a good example is like Russell Westbrook. Like you can't make Russ into like a corner spacer like, some people try to do when he's on a team. If you're going to get Russell Westbrook, a player like that, you got to let him be Russ, right? And you just got to live with it and try to mitigate it, like I think the Rockets try to do when he was here. Dillon is the same kind of unique type of player, whereas you have to take the good and the bad. But some of the stuff that we perceive as bad is what makes him actually good. So it's going to be a fine balance for him, trying to figure out where is the line that you can't cross in the playing field, and how does that impact team and the winning and all that. So, but otherwise, I think he looked good. He looked like he's a workout warrior type of guy. He looked focused, and really excited to see whether he can be consistent with his shooting this year going forward. Another player that I really, I'm looking forward to a lot this season is Jabari Smith Jr. He definitely looked like he put on about 10 pounds, 5 or 10 pounds of muscle. Spoke about working on his strength, being able to play on the inside. I like that. He also spoke about being able to attack closeouts off the dribble, which I do agree opens up a world for him as far as not just being a shooter or a guy that just, is just kind of a one-dimensional offensive player. I would like to see him. He spoke about coming off of screens and different ways that he can be used as a screener, a pick and popper, a guy that can work in a post up. I think all of that lends to him getting stronger. Y'all know my spiel on Jabari. He is a player that is very young in a position in the interior that requires brute strength. And if he wants to play to his full potential, he's going to have to keep getting stronger. And for him as a player that is on the offensive side, as a forward that's playing with the big boys, that's nothing that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. This is going to be a year-to-year thing for him. But love what I saw last year. Want to see more this year. Tari Eason spoke. I think he gave great insight as to kind of his feelings about being away from the game of basketball and what he learned. Really excited to see how he's going to look compared to the other players out there. I want to see how he looks adjacent to Amen Thompson, adjacent to Dillon Brooks, adjacent to some of these players that we have that we brought in, and see how they kind of wreak havoc together. So really excited about that. Really excited about to get him back fully healthy without anything hindering his game. expect a lot from him this year. And I feel like this is a year where he can really make a case for why the Rockets should consider starting him at the small forward position. Since his contract is going to be coming up, Dillon Brooks is going to be another year into his contract. I think that that's something that they could consider. So really excited to see what type of season Tari puts together. Cam Whitmore came in and really spoke on his growth as a person. I think that's something that I like to hear from him. Said he grew with his IQ, with his understanding of the game, kind of being around other vets. I think he had a very active summer with the NBA and the Players Association. He spoke about doing some initiatives with them and just working on his overall game. I think he's still so young that the book on him is not really set yet. So whatever people's predispositions, and you guys know my criticism of him aren't really criticism, just my observations of his game. I think that he probably needs to be a little bit more cerebral with how he leverages his scoring and picking his spots better, knowing when to use his superpowers. And obviously he's young. That's going to come with experience. Little thing that I did hear him say about that he worked out with Jaylen Brown and that he models his game after that. I've heard a lot of people compare that. I think I did. I don't remember. I make so many comps. But that is something that I think is definitely real. Like, I do see a lot of similarities, not only in their build, their athleticism, but their limitations as well. And I think that if there's somebody that you want to build your game out from, JB is a great model for that because, a guy that was not really used for what he is used for now as a primary scorer, a guy that you can run pick and rolls with, a guy that's going to be a two-way player that can defend. I think that's an emphasis there. And I think that Cam, if you're going to pick somebody to be like, that's a great choice. So look, for him this year, it's going to be just learning more about the game, playing within the construct of the team, being able to defend at a high level and just hustling. I think that's what we're going to expect from him, and hopefully we see that. Sheppard just spoke on being a young guy in the league, and I think the expectations for him are really high. I don't have high expectations for Reed, not because I think he can't meet them, just because there's no reason to. Because the team is so stacked already with veterans that, to me, anything Reed does is just icing on the cake at this point. He is going to be in a position that Amen and Cam were in last year, but even better because, to me, the best way for young guys to learn is not to be thrust out into a grown man's game, but is to learn under the tutelage of players that have been there, done that. And for us, we have that at every level for him. We got guys that were just rookies. We got guys that have been in the league 3-4 years. You got vets that have been in league 7-8. You got guys been in the league damn near 10-15 years. So he can learn it at every level. We have players at key positions that can help him out. I think he's going to be everybody's kind of rookie little brother, and he can ease into the NBA and let his game develop at the rate it's supposed to without being expedited into bad habits. So, I really like, what I seen from what he said. Only thing, though, that mustache, bro, I don't know about that. I just made a tweet about his mustache. It looks like, to me, Reed reminds me of one of those movies where you have kids who try to sneak into somewhere or buy beer or buy something that you got to be 18 or older or something like that. And like a 13-year-old puts on a fake mustache with the glasses attached to it. That's what he looked like. That mustache doesn't even fit it. He has such a young face, for me, I guess because I'm old, that the mustache just looks out of place. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It just looks funny. But I don't really have, much expectation for it, honestly. If he can just learn to be on the court in the NBA and be impactful just by being an average to a slightly above average shooter and a neutral defender, I think it's a win because he's only going to get better from there. The thing that put me in perspective for him is that they asked him a question about what is it like being a player that was in high school at this point last year, going into Kentucky, and now you're drafted in here. That is crazy. This man was literally in second period last May or whenever he was in high school a year or plus ago, and then went to Kentucky last year around this time, had a season. Now he's drafted with the Rockets. This dude was eating lunchroom pizza about a year and a half ago, and now he's in the NBA. So I think we got to keep all that in perspective. Don't put too much on these kids, but really love what I heard from him. Got to see Steven Adams come out and talk. I'm really excited about what he's going to not only impact on the team, but I think Steven still got some in the tank. Now, he said he's full go. Coach Udoka and Rafael Stone, when they were being interviewed, said that he is somebody that is going to be ramped up. I expect them ramping up. Nobody coming off a catastrophic year-ending injury is going to just be like, oh yeah, you're playing 25 minutes. So his minutes distribution or his minutes are going to progressively improve over time. So I expect that to be kind of, you just want to watch and see how he reacts to the stress of the NBA game. But I think he's going to bring a lot on the court and off the court for all our players, especially for Sengun as a young big, to learn from one of the best screeners in the NBA, the guy that's tough. And then you hear about the sparring matches, and shout out to Londale for the pause moment of the interview, saying that with a guy like Steven Adams, you got to do your work early. You got to work early and lay the lumber on him, which was funny for me to hear. But I think that whole dynamic between Londale, Sengun, and Steven Adams working together, working off of each other, and kind of working to make each other better. I think we have a decent rotation at center. I'm not going to lie. That's a pretty good rotation at center. And then you have the option of Jabari at the 5, Jeff Green at the 5 as well. It's really, really exciting to see what this team, I think this roster is pretty complete. We have shooting, we have defensive wings, we have guards, we have, different athletes. We have big men, strong bruisers, finesse, we got spacers. So they're really, really exciting. I think Stone did a great job putting this roster together. I think Ime did a great job selecting the type of players that he wants. And overall, just hearing from guys like Amen Thompson, who looks noticeably bigger this year, in my opinion, looked like he put on some muscle. Say he worked on his shooting, worked on some of his ball handling. One thing I'm missing, Aaron Holiday, shout out to him. Happy birthday. I think he got to, talk about just some generic things, but having him as a third, fourth guard, a guy that played really big minutes last year and held his own on most nights when he wasn't ball hogging. But I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let my beef with Aaron Holiday and his ball hogging go. Give him a fresh slate. Everybody gets a fresh slate this year. I said that on my last video. So if I'm just joking on people, it's just jokes. Everybody gets a fresh slate this season. And I think everybody should give them a fresh slate this season. But overall, I think the team really just got to, speak on one commitment to the playoffs. And Ime echoed that this year, even though last year, and he made a great way of putting what he saw the season like when we went 41-41. Basically, he says you win a game, lose a game. And he doesn't find that acceptable. And that makes sense. I ain't gonna lie. That's a great way to put it. Even though relative to where we were before, this is a huge leap, but you win a game, lose a game is not what's going to get us to where we need to go. So they know they have to be much better. And I think that was echoed by every single person that spoke. I think everybody's message is playoffs. And I think that's what the fan base's message should be. And lastly, I think, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the passing of Dikembe Mutombo, one of the greats in the NBA, one of the kind of the iconic players in this league for its history, right? You can't tell the story of the NBA without the story of Dikembe Mutombo with the iconic finger wag after he blocked shots, and definitely a guy that is prominent on multiple teams, including the Rockets and Denver, Philly. He was all over the league, but I think his impact on the global stage for basketball, not only here in America, but overseas in Africa, he really impacted the game tremendously. We send our prayers and thoughts to his family and his children, his wife, and all his extended family members and his friends from the Chop Shop, and then just wish his family well, and we know that he is at peace with God at this moment. But overall, I think the excitement level for this season is really, really high. I'm curious to see what was y'all's favorite part of the media day. Can't wait for them to drop those pictures. Me and Roosh are going to be potting later on this week, previewing the season, talking more details, maybe some things that we saw from the media day. Appreciate you guys. Excited about this season. It is going down. The Rockets are going to be on a playoff push, and we're going to be there with you every step of the way. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Keep rocking with the Chop Shop, and we're going to keep dropping that fire.
DJ Candlestick. Not Flop Show.